Succession planning doesn't mean that you're leaving. In my experience, most owners avoid the word succession planning because they think that it signals just one thing. I'm stepping away, and that's what it means. But that belief is really not correct. It's really costing owners time and leverage and peace of mind as they think that way. Succession planning does not mean you're leaving. What it means is that you're leading your team and your business and your family forward. It's about strengthening your business, protecting your options, increasing your freedom, and not necessarily handing over the keys. That can happen years later. So I just want to talk to you a little bit today about how you can build optionality in to your idea of succession planning or succession strategy without signaling that you're done, and why it's better to talk about your strategy now and get it on paper than when you're absolutely needing to leave, right? So succession planning, if you think about what that really is, it's all about continuity. You know as well as I do that continuity is what keeps the business running well. And that continuity is what helps the business and the people within the business navigate with whatever life throws at it, whatever happens, whether it's growth and opportunity or whether it might be some kind of an illness or something that's happening in the marketplace. The business is always having to have that resilience in order to survive. So your succession strategy and the planning, it'll talk about things like and answer questions like, who's going to step in when you're unavailable, and how are decisions made? How do you make decisions now? And how would you like to have them made in the future? Who's growing into leadership? Who's going to replace you? But maybe who's not going to replace you, and how you get replaced? And then keeping that business stable. How does the business stay stable and valuable? So again, it's not about exit planning. This is about smart leadership, doing your succession planning when you're ready, and kind of getting ahead of the game. The exit, if you think about exit planning, and years ago when I started into this career, everybody was talking about exit planning. And what I found is nobody wanted to talk about exit planning. Why? Because exit planning is like, hey, I'm leaving. I'm going to prepare for a sale. It's in the near future. It's going to be a transfer. It's going to be a transition of ownership. When you think about succession planning or transition planning, the way that we talk about it, it's about developing people, developing yourself, developing roles, different communication systems. When you're in the business, you don't need the same type of communication system potentially that you might need as you're starting to step away and starting to let go. How do you navigate and help your people navigate when you're not there every day? So, and how do these decision frameworks work so that the business can go on in good times and also in a crisis? It can go on well because you know those decisions are being made well. So nobody wants to talk about exit planning. I'm hoping everybody starts talking about succession and transition planning. Really important. When you build out a succession strategy or a transition strategy, you really are building in optionality. And I don't know any entrepreneur that doesn't like choices, doesn't like the what ifs, the what if, like, hey, if we go here, that's great. And if this doesn't work, we're going to go there. That's what starting ahead helps you to do. So you don't have to signal that you're done. You just start early so that you're prepared and you're building that optionality into the work that you're doing. So how you frame this work determines how people will interpret it. If you frame it like you're leaving, they'll think you are. If you frame it like you are just building strength and capacity and helping people to navigate just in case you're not there, which we never know if we're going to be or not, truthfully, then that how you frame that helps others to navigate around you and to support you in this work. So, a few practical things that you could consider is maybe developing people around their strengths and not on your timeline. So, if you're not replacing yourself, right now, what you're doing is you're helping them to build more capability, and your team is getting stronger. It just gives you more optionality in the future. Creating clear decision pathways. How do you make decisions? Again, helping others to understand how you do that so that when you might not be there someday, you know that everything is going well and that business has that resilient decision-making strategy that you've used for so many years. The idea of governance, that's optionality too. If you build in some governance and you help with that, then your governance, you can quit being the benevolent dictator. Sometimes that's a really fun role to be in. But if you want your business to go on into the future and you have a good succession strategy, typically you'll start governance early. You'll start to help people to come in, and it's kind of fun for you to mentor them and help them see how you make decisions and what you look at. Why do you do what you do? And I like the idea of growth. Typically, when you're transitioning a company, one, it's nice for you to transition a company that's of a higher value. Second, though, it's nice for people who are coming in to have a stronger business. If you have a family and you're planning on the business not just supporting your family, right, with your children when you were maybe younger and just had one core family, if you're thinking that this is going to support more than one family in your transition, so maybe you've got, instead of one owner, that you were that owner, you're going to have 3 kids that are all owners. Maybe they're all working in the company. That business is going to have to support more families. So growth. Where does that growth come from? And how does it work? How does this business survive without being drained? And everybody gets to live the lives that they want to live their best life ever, which is one of our goals, is to help people do that. So your best time to plan is when you don't really need to leave. And we've all heard that, dig your well before you're thirsty kind of a thing. And pressure tends to create decisions that are not as good. They may not be bad decisions, but they might be not as beneficial as if you had time to think about them and you had the framework and the structure in place to support the decision. So typically urgency narrows your path forward and narrows your thinking. The worst transitions that I've seen happen when owners wait until they're forced to do it. And I remember years ago, it was a Canadian company. The father was doing fine. The daughter was doing fine. The daughter was running the company. The dad was enjoying life. And the daughter was frustrated. She really wanted to take over the company. The dad really wasn't working in the company. And what happened is he avoided his transition work. He did not do it. And then he found out that he had lung cancer, and he found out that he had less than 6 months to live. And all of a sudden we were hired and we were in and we were talking to the daughter, and the wife was upset, and the son was there too because it was a family of 4. And the son shows up, and nobody ever knew that the son was really interested in coming into that business and helping out. And he and his sister ended up working together, which could have happened years before if he had engaged in his transition work. However, he didn't. So they lost a lot of time working together. He lost time working with his son when he could have had that opportunity. And it was sort of, again, a really big, urgent situation that didn't need to happen that way. Just a good story about how urgency narrows your path. Urgency reduces the optionality because they had only a few options with him having a terminal illness. they only had a few options where they would have had more before. So when you don't need to leave, what happens is you can see more options, you have more leverage, you make better choices, your family and your team, they feel safe and not threatened. And you can test and adjust and strengthen your plan. And the other thing is you have the option of being with the people that you really care about, helping them to do good things and to learn and grow and enhance their capability while you're spending time with them and enjoying them. It can be a wonderful, wonderful journey if you start early. So it's about giving you the freedom to choose the if, the when, the how, whenever that is that you eventually step back. And while you're in the midst of it, just being engaged and engaged in this growth for everybody else, growth of your business, and giving the business some flexibility that it might need. Succession planning, it does not shrink your role. It expands your possibilities. It doesn't speed up your departure. It puts you in firm control of your future. And when owners understand that succession is about continuity and it's not about exit, then everything changes. They lead with more confidence. They communicate with more clarity. They build a better business that can stand strongly through any season. It's got a better chance. So that's what we're here to talk about and help you do today, is to help you build strength, build alignment, build optionality, work with your successors, and start early so you keep your options open and enjoy this journey, because it is a journey. It's not an event. So keep leading on your terms, have more freedom, more clarity, more control. I would love to have you check out our Evolve community. It's our Evolve program. It is fabulous, and it is the premier program for coming in and working through developing your transition roadmap that will be yours into the future.